Hi, I'm Nicole Scherzinger, and I can promise that the following podcast is exactly like my apartment. There's no Lewis Hamilton in it! Hello and welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed. We were just talking about low-speed accidents, which I think may well be the topic for conversation on another show. But for today, Richard.
Hello.
And Zog.
Hello.
We're going to be talking about Formula One. Have you been following testing, gentlemen?
Little bit, yeah. Not obsessively, but it's the first bit of F1 action of the year. Of course, we've been taking a look.
Are you enjoying the withdrawal from the denial of our addiction over the winter yet, Richard? Have you been following it?
A little bit, yeah. I think I'm probably like Zog was saying, just sort of pay half attention to it because you can't really deduce too much from it. And it's just quite nice to see the new cars in action, but that's it. You just sort of get a sense of what they look like out in the real world.
And from a fan's perspective, you've got to save your energy for the real action. You know, you can't peak too early in terms of getting excited.
If I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning in March, I need to prepare for it from February, really, by stocking up on sleep. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Do we like what we see? Do we like the look of the cars? Are they better now this year?
They're a mixed bag. I can't tell what the Red Bull looks like because they've got that fancy camouflage stuff, which I don't think I've ever seen on an F1 car before.
No, it's quite good, isn't it? Because they use it on road car prototypes all the time now.
And it makes sense for a road car, but I really don't understand what the point of Red Bull doing it is.
PR. It gets you noticed. If they pushed out a car in the Red Bull colours again, everyone would go, oh, look, yeah, it's a Red Bull.
But here we are, we're talking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Damn them, they've got us.
And the camouflage, if you look in detail at the camouflage, it's just the word Red Bull or the Red Bull logo, I believe, just a million times at all sorts
They're
of
starting
angles.
to do that with all these wraps they used to disguise road car prototypes. There's some pictures doing the rounds last week of the Range Rover Evoque convertible, and the camo wrap is lots of little blobby outlines of little cartoon men. I can't remember who the artist is who does them, but it's
Keith Haring, not the old sort of...
Are they cartoons of, what was his name, Charles Spencer King, perhaps?
Turning in his grave. No. I don't know, but they're sort of starting to have a bit of fun with these camo wraps. But the Red Bull thing, though, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Also, where that whole principle comes from, isn't it the First World War dazzle ships? Also an OMD album.
Yes, I like the reference. I saw them on that tour. Twice, I think, but it's the same principle. There's nothing natural about it. You know, you sort of think, why would painting a ship in sort of weird geometrical shapes and colours camouflage it? So it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. But it's about breaking up the outline.
Worked for zebras for tens of millions of years, hasn't it? However many. Tens of thousands. Hundreds of thousands
of years. Camouflage, isn't it?
Well, it's actually an interesting question whether zebra stripes, from an evolutionary advantage point of view, whether that is to do with camouflage, disguising you against trees and shrubs and those sort of vaguely vertical things, or if it has another function. And I believe recent research says that it's not a camouflage thing. What it does affect is how often they're bitten by certain types of biting insects.
Really?
So, yeah, I believe.
Because funny enough, OMD were playing dazzle ships in full in Liverpool. Not that long ago, my friend Paul went, and this course we were having a chat about it, and of course just
you've just got Romance
some,
of the Telescope, which is one of the most awesome OMD tracks of that era, I think. A B-side, of course, but magnificent song. Please continue.
What I was going to say is I looked up some dazzle ships, and there was some quite extraordinary. A U-boat wouldn't be able to tell which way the ship was going because the design so broke up its lines, it was almost incomprehensible to the human eye what you were seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
And what the shape was, which doesn't really apply to a zebra.
Or
you can always tell which way a zebra's going. You can usually tell which way a Formula 1 car's going unless Maldonado's driving it. But yes, you could go, well, it seems to be going around that corner.
Best way to hide a battleship, stick a bunch of lights on it. If you have got a battleship on the horizon and it's equipped with a whole array of lights down one side and you turn those lights on and you match the light intensity of the horizon, your battleship vanishes. Yeah, they experimented with it during the Second World War, but it was too power hungry, unfortunately, and to get as many bulbs working as possible down the side of the battleship.
But if you're a bit closer, that the effect diminishes.
Probably, yeah, I would imagine, yeah.
And maybe another reason I didn't up is its effectiveness would depend on where you're looking at it from.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure if it's making you less visible to other ships by shining light like that, I'm pretty sure it would make you a lot more visible to aircraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. A different viewpoint. However,
don't flick the switch at night or it'll be a dead giveaway. You idiot.
Benson, you didn't leave the lights on last night. Sorry, sir.
Red Bull are piloting a cloaking device as their secret weapon for Formula 1 2015. Sauber Sauber seem to have the innovation of the year so far. Have you heard about this?
A whole new colour scheme?
Yeah,
Making
they
that
have,
car look
actually.
like some sort of rather dismal champ car or something.
Yeah,
That colour
it does.
scheme's a bit
Yeah, it
bland.
is. Yeah.
But they do have an air scoop on the underside of the nose, just in front of the driver's feet, that pushes air up through an S-shaped vent to the upper side, changing the air pressure on the top of the car. And they reckon that this is something that the other teams are now scrabbling to copy in their second-generation cars already. Under your feet.
It's under your feet. So
Yep.
and it's then splitting it left and right around the driver?
No, I think it comes up just in front of the windscreen, or where it would be. There's a vent there just in front of the
Okay.
cockpit, and it vents over the top of the driver, changes that. And apparently this is something that everyone's going, oh, why didn't we think of that? And if you think about it,
Yeah.
I think it's something we've hinted at before. I think, didn't Ferrari have that whistling nose
Yes,
idea
it did, yeah.
a few years ago? I think it's an
They had
expansion
that
of
little
that.
hole in the nose, yeah.
Yeah,
The,
yeah.
yeah.
But when the Sauber drivers turn out to be constantly being peppered with grit, then they'll change their minds.
But this is interesting. It sounds like it's another one of these aerodynamic ideas that, like the F duct, is working not just on the local airflow and doing something clever with bodywork and the airflow in that part of the car, but it's linking two completely different parts of the car, bodywork on two completely different parts, and generating...
Oh, dear.
Schönheit.
You're right there, Richard.
Whoa,
When you lost him. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's quite all
Don't
right.
die on us. He had a change of pressure there.
There was a very severe change of
Yeah.
pressure there for a moment. Maybe that's got the idea from Peter Sauber sneezed violently in
It's those cigars.
the aero
It
lab.
affected his nasal area, and he thought, wait a minute, I could use this on my car. Maybe not.
Maybe this says something about how effectively designers have got all of the available time from the room they have to work within on the kind of big aerodynamic things, you know, how many elements you have in your rear wing and just what size and shape they are. And so they're having to get down to much cleverer, more devious things.
Yeah.
It's just too hard to make significant gains in other areas. Maybe.
I didn't notice whether any of these sort of F1 techie journalists picked up on this, Craig Scarber or anyone, but I wonder whether that Red Bull disguise, apart from us talking about it, the other thing was that there's some rather subtle aero sculpting going on.
Yeah.
That camouflage covers up. So it's a way of stopping the teams noticing fully what they're up to at this point, and then they'll get to the first race and go, oh, we didn't notice that.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure you're right that it could do that, but what I wonder is, given how good F1 teams are at gathering information about the competitors' vehicles at test sessions, how many pictures they're going to be able to take of that Red Bull, I just wonder, is it really going to help if you've got a bunch of really big, high-resolution shots close up of the car that they've taken just as it's being wheeled into the garage? You know, I'm sure it would disguise it if you were shooting with a longer lens, but if you were taking a picture in the pit lane, I don't know.
I don't know. I suppose it depends how complicated the pattern is and how much it
And just how subtle
distorts,
that bit of bodywork is. Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. I wonder whether sometimes when they're sort of keeping a very close eye on everyone else's new cars, that it's firstly in case they've had an idea like Sauber that they've gone, damn, we should have thought of that. And secondly, they're like being the FIA and keeping an eye because they want to know if any of their competitors are pushing the rules a little bit, but they can snitch on them.
They'll
then.
protest, yeah, might be right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is brake ducts at the moment. The front brake ducts are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They're not for cooling the brakes. They're channeling air that's scooped in at the front of the brake discs and sending it through a hollow front axle. So the air is exiting through the axle which the wheel sits on at the front, changing the airflow around the front tyres. Now, technically, that's an aerodynamic device. Are they allowed to do that? Oh, no, it's cooling. It's not cooling. Are they allowed to do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Apparently
Sort
they
of
are.
thing that could get protested about.
If they're all doing it.
Yeah.
They're not going to dress each other up, are they?
Well, it comes down to sort of your definition of a movable aerodynamic device, just how you define that. Because you could think of a definition of movable aerodynamic device that would ban just about everything on the
Yeah,
cars.
yeah.
You've got to have guidelines, you've got to have an interpretation of those rules. But bigger picture, apart from how things look, well, is the Ferrari that quick? And what kind of shape are McLaren Honda, as we
Okay,
call them?
can I answer those?
Please do.
No, and not very good. Right, we'll discuss that
Go on,
later.
okay.
No, seriously, apparently the Ferraris were running on soft tyres and Mercedes never got beyond the medium tyre. And we know the difference the tyre can make. And so Ferrari and Sauber were both flattered by their tyres. And poor old McLaren Honda, It doesn't seem to be going well. They had problems with the water pump, they had problems with oil level, they had problems with some sort of sensor. You know, it's not just one thing that we've got to fix. They seem to have a myriad bunch of things. What have Honda been doing for the last few years?
Working on the new NSX.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
But I mean, look at it this way. Look at the problems that Renault had in their early testing last year. And I'm not saying that the Honda is in as much trouble as the Renault was. I'm sure it's not. But Renault managed to make enormous strides.
Yeah, they did improve it, yeah.
At the start of the season. And I think the kind of problems that you get in your first full test session like this, they don't necessarily reflect on how the power plant is going to perform in future. So I was hoping, to be honest, that they were going to turn up at that test session and be right on it and looking super quick and really competitive. And I was really quite disappointed that they had the problems they had. But wait for the next test, Barcelona, because I think that was really more of a shakedown. So,
well, do you know what? I was hoping that they were going to come out of the blocks blisteringly quick as well. But only Button's car. That'd be great. Wouldn't that be great if they could just get one car working well, just enough, so that Button gets the season and Alonso goes, maybe I should go back to Ferrari. Yeah, you go back to Ferrari, mate. You're not welcome at McLaren. Despite what Ron says. Am I being harsh on him?
No.
Good.
Fernando, come in, please, sit down.
What is going on, Eric?
It's about your car, Fernando.
Is it working better now?
No. I'm afraid this is the opposite of that. We have made your car even worse. It is now, how you say, terrible. But on the positive side, Jensen's car is now superb.
What? This can't be possible. Why is this happening?
It is out of my hands, I'm afraid. This is a specific instruction from our new team principal.
What new team principal? Who is this person?
Well, it's quite a surprise, actually. I think you know him.
Who? Tell me who this person is.
Well, it's Felipe Massa.
Step Central with Gareth Jones on speed!
Do you know who my favourite motorsport designer is?
Gordon Murray.
No, that's your favourite.
Harvey Postlethwaite.
Very close. I was thinking about Harvey Postlethwaite, which is difficult to say with my lisp, earlier this week.
Adrian Newey.
Not even Adrian Newey. No, my favourite motorsport
Colin
designer.
Chapman.
Not well, actually, maybe it is Colin Chapman.
I was
Thinking about it. But at the moment of the current trend, it's Ben Bowlby.
Bob Bulbous.
Barry Balloon, is that his name? Who designed the Delta Wing and designed the Nissan Ziod RC, which sounds like a really controlled car, and has now designed, let me get this name right, the Nissan GT-R Nismo LMP. Is that the right way round? Have I got it the right way round?
It's all the right notes, not necessarily in the right order.
There you go, that's me all over that is.
And
do you know what it is?
Yes.
Go on then, what is it?
Well, it's the Le Mans car.
No, what the correct
Oh, no, I don't.
nomenclature is.
No, I've no idea.
But definitely some combination of those letters.
GT San
That's it.
LPM.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's that crazy looking Le Mans car.
It is crazy looking.
Wild and crazy car.
It is a Le Mans car going backwards.
It's the wrong way around, and it's something new and exciting, and
Yeah.
we've got yet another different solution to how to go as fast as you can in 24 hours.
But now, this is what was really interesting
exciting.
was it was announced and everybody was majoring on the fact that it's front-wheel drive, which is the first thing to say. This seems rather strange.
Although the front-wheel drive gets slightly messed up by the fact that so many of them are four-wheel drive, at least some of the time now. But
but this is
quickly on.
only
But
this
it
is only front-wheel
basically-
drive. There is, I believe, some capacity built into the design to drive the rear wheels as well, if necessary. But their belief is that it's fine as front-wheel drive, and that it doesn't matter that it's front-wheel drive in terms of all the things you'd think would hamstring it. But I thought, because its layout is so bananas, that it would be running as the Delta Wing did under the 0 number, and it's just it's in the experimental, what do they call it, garage?
56. Garage 56, yeah.
And actually, no.
Oh.
Blimey, what's that?
Do you know, when we record this programme, we have my phone clocking away the time in the corner, and what just happened was that my phone got an alert, probably from Violet downstairs saying that she's putting the kids to bed, caused it to vibrate and knocked the phone over. We'll finish this bit and then I'll look at what that message is. Yeah, I do apologise.
So anyway, yes, it's not Garage 56.
No, it isn't.
They want to
It's
enter
LMP1.
3 of them.
Yeah.
It's a proper LMP1 car.
There will be 13, possibly 14 LMP1 cars at Le Mans this year if the Collis, that used to be Lotus, that isn't Lotus, team runs. I mean, that's fantastic.
It's going to be a hell of a year. Yeah, no, I'm really excited about this year's race. Maybe this is a question to ask at the end, but where do you think they should be expecting to finish? What's a respectable finish for that Nissan this year?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know.
Finishing.
I mean, finishing. To finish first you've got to be finished.
You've got to be finished, yeah, that's right.
I'm going
to get him on the phone then.
I reckon, I don't think it'll go well for them. As much as I love this car, the idea of this car, the look of it and everything is just bonkers, and that's fantastic. We like variety. I'm not convinced it's going to go terribly well for them, because look at Nissan's only recent track record at Le Mans. The Delta Wing ran quite well but got bumped out of the race, and it had all sorts of technical issues. The Ziod RC, they did manage to do a lap running electrically during practice, but when it came to the race, that car was all over the place. It wouldn't run. So I don't know how much technology or how much experience they've gained in those two cars that they can transfer to this, but they look a bit fragile in my reckoning.
Well, I don't think that we should take too much of that Ziod and Delta Wing performance and map that onto how this year's Le Mans entry is going to go, because they knew that those cars were experiments. They were technology demonstrators. This year, they're running a proper race team, and they're going to have different parameters for reliability and everything on the technology. So for the Ziod and the Delta Wing, the level of acceptable risk that something might fail is going to be much higher than the level of acceptable risk that component might fail on the race car. So I'm sure they're going to be a lot more reliable than the technology demonstrators they've had in the last couple of years. And I don't know. I mean, they've got to be shooting for like a 6th place, maybe. I think that would be a good finish for them. I think
it's an Austin Maxi, isn't it, or an Allegro, or an Austin 1300. This car. If you were going to build a car for Le Mans, even with the engine up front, you wouldn't make those front wheels that have got all that power have to steer as well as get the power down, would you?
Well, this seems to go against, everything. Now, apparently, Bob Bulbous, or whatever his name is, says that...
Barry Bulbach.
I'm so easily amused. There's this sort of holy trinity between aerodynamic grip, mechanical grip, and weight balance, I think, that as long as you get those perfectly aligned in the correct way, that the driven wheels don't matter so much, which I find strange, because surely the mechanical grip is affected by
aero pressure over that point.
Well, but no, it's not that. It's the fact that you're trying to put power through the steering wheels, which is just seems like you're asking for trouble. Why you want to separate those functions?
My simplistic understanding of kind of the torque steer problem is that asking your front wheels to do those two things at the same time, to do all the steering and to put the power down, it's just asking so much more of that whole system. But I think I've got a vague handle on why this basic layout offers an advantage over a rear-wheel drive setup, if you can get it right. If you can get it to work. They've
accidentally used a micro design team, and they went, well, front-wheel drive, obviously, because we're on a competitive boot for its class. Oh no, it's in the LMP1 class. They don't have boots. Oh, we thought it was a hatchback.
Steve Scrotum, who designed this car, I think that's his name, isn't it? He reckons that there was much greater freedom for interpretation of the aerodynamics at the front of the car than at the back of the car.
Okay.
And the idea of putting the cabin further back allowed them to do stuff at the front that they couldn't do otherwise. And so there's an inherent aerodynamic advantage. They say that they're not doing this to be novel, they're doing it because they've spotted an advantage.
Yeah. I sort of had this vague idea that the advantage was sort of to do with the fact that, a bit like if you chuck something and as it falls through the air, it will always tumble with the heavier bit forward and the lighter bit trailing back.
Yeah, but that's the very cause of understeer in the sort of nose-heavy car as well. So, the mass is trying to drag the nose wide.
Yes,
the tyres gripped in a turn, the mechanical grip is overcome by mass and momentum. So I don't know. Is that a
There
good
is
thing?
some-
But or what you're saying is that there's an advantage in that.
What I'm saying is that there's I just had this sort
approach.
of... Well,
It's front mid-engine.
I maybe
Talking rubbish.
not understandable, but I just had this idea that having the drive through the front wheels, it does have a centre of mass further forwards than the mid-engine cars, does it not? Is that
Well,
what-
yeah.
They talk about it being
but it-
front mid-engines. I would imagine it's only a matter of a percent or two, the way that they've managed it. It's probably 52% balanced towards the front, as opposed to the other cars, which are probably 52% balanced towards the rear. They try and keep it as neutral as possible because that's what you need, surely. Surely.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm guessing.
The bottom line is that I'm sure Nissan are doing it this way because they see a clear advantage, a clear benefit in doing it this way if they can get it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
They must do,
it's-
because the
it's-
thing is, they're a huge corporation. They're also, to be honest, they're in there against Toyota, who are
Yep.
their old home market rival. They don't want to look like idiots.
Yeah.
They want to
They want to
win, really.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point? So, yeah, this isn't a novelty act. I mean, they're putting some serious cash into this if they're running 3 cars. And the thing we haven't even got onto is the most fascinating part of Billy Bellon's design is that it has this mechanical flywheel.
Which
It's
is
a
the old Williams thing,
mechanical
isn't it?
hybrid.
Isn't that, that's the Williams technology, isn't it?
Toro Track, I think.
Yes.
I think it's Toro Track, which
Well,
I
it used
think
to-
they may have bought that from Williams. I don't know. Williams have sold their flybrid system on. There,
They did,
there
yeah.
are several, I believe.
But it's a purely mechanical hybrid, like a
Yeah.
toy
Right,
car.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it just harvests kinetic energy. It goes into this ready great flywheel. Well, it's actually ready great flywheel. It's
2
it's-
horizontal flywheels, I think, isn't
Is
it?
it? But
I think
the whole package is sort of like 20 centimetres by about
Is it?
20, something like that, or
Wow.
20 by 18. Or the flywheels themselves certainly are not huge, great cartwheels.
Yeah.
They're just
But-
spinning very, very, very fast.
60,000
Yeah.
RPM.
Yeah, it's pretty
the
fast.
edges are doing Mach 2. And there would be a sonic boom, but for the fact that it's in a vacuum.
You
So-
really do know this.
I
You
do
said
know
that you've
about
been
this,
looking
yeah.
into it. I didn't know
In a
that.
vacuum, so that it won't cause sonic booms.
Yeah.
And amongst the other headlines, if they stopped and just let the flywheel keep spinning, they don't know how long it would spin for, because it would be a long, long time to come down from 60,000 RPM. Obviously, they can stop it because there are clutches that come in and out to either charge the flywheel or
Or
to use
deliver
its
its
energy
power,
to deliver
yeah.
it to the wheel. So
And
they can
that's
just clutch it in when they're coming to a halt, and it'll,
And that energy from the flywheel is transferred back to the front wheels.
Yes.
It's not on the rear wheels.
No.
It's batty.
I know.
Bonkers. Haven't we come a long way, though? I remember when the very first flywheel, what was it called? The Patriot? That Chrysler Patriot,
Oh,
that
yeah.
LMP1 car many, many years ago, was the only way they could actually get it to work at Donington was by pushing it down a hill, so it was freewheeling. Taking pictures of it. Did you know that? It never actually worked properly. Haven't we come a long way? Isn't technology marvellous?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Ballbag! Mr. Ballbag!
It's Bumhole. Ben Bumhole. What is it?
It's the LMP1 car, Mr. Bell Helmet. The flywheels, well, it's escaped.
Oh, God, not again. It's Boobies, by the way. Ben Boobies.
Right. What should we do, Mr. Buggery?
I don't know. When was this?
Well, 2 minutes ago, sir.
Right. Hello? Ben Ballon speaking. What? You found my flywheel? Oh, that's wonderful news. Right, well, give me your address and I'll come and get it immediately. Yes, 421, yeah. Adelaide?
Gareth Jones on speed.
Ron Dennis said something really interesting.
Did he?
When
was this?
And it didn't take him 20 minutes to say it in terms that needed deciphering. It was quite plain English as well. Words to the effect of, we're not going to have any title sponsors in Formula One anymore because nobody can afford to sponsor a car. It's so expensive. Okay, explain Red Bull then, Ron. Do you agree with him that, no one corporation is big enough to sponsor a car now?
It's obviously not true that there aren't companies rich enough to...
Yeah,
you know,
they would not
spend that
choose to spend the money.
Precisely. My first reaction was he's just saying that because they haven't been able to find a replacement for Vodafone. And, McLaren, they haven't been as stellar in their performance in the last couple of years than they have been at their best, so it's been harder for them to sell that, I guess.
Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with being
But
sponsored by a Chippy in Woking. Independent shoe shop just outside Farnborough.
I hear they're still considering that offer.
Yeah, well,
So-
upwards of £20.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, you know. But here's the thing, I thought about it a bit more, and cynicism aside, I think there is something in it.
What did you just say? What was that?
Cynicism aside.
Cynicism aside, right, okay.
There's, you know, particularly when you see some of the things that Bernie's come out with about how there's no point in Formula One trying to attract younger viewers and the younger audience. This is a sport that only rich old people are interested in, you know. Old people who are therefore not going to be around that much longer. That's not the kind of thing that's going to help the sport appeal to really big sponsors. So time's being hard out there for all kinds of companies. I guess that fewer people are going to be prepared to stump up the kind of money that's going to take to be a title sponsor. Yeah. And the sport probably is too expensive. Some people would disagree, but it just costs so much to run a team. So I think there is something in what he's saying.
What was it that he said about the proportion of the team's total spend that would typically be taken up by a title sponsor, and it has now got so high, despite the efforts to cut costs, that it's just very hard to get a corporation to say that they will chip in for the whole amount. What's quite interesting about Red Bull is that obviously they're Red Bull, they're a company in their own right. It's a bit more complicated. They're not a title sponsor. I mean, they are the team, aren't they?
And to some extent, it's a bit of an indulgence.
It's like
for
Ferrari. They're a factory effort. It's just that they make a vile fizzy drink rather than sports cars.
Yeah.
But also they have Infinity. Their name's above the door, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Infinity is part of the Renault-Nissan alliance, and they
provide
the engines as well. And I wonder if McLaren went, hey, look, you know, Honda, would you want to just, you know, maybe put in a bit more? I imagine they won't. Look, we're giving you the engines, for God's sake.
What more do you want?
What more do you want?
Yeah.
Sod off. Go back to that gastro pub on the outskirts of Guildford that's offered to pay you £1,500 to sponsor your car.
And provide free meals.
Free meals.
At the British Grand Prix, but no others.
No. We certainly couldn't go to some of those faraway races like Japan or Australia. I mean, who'd cover the kitchen? Clive's pulled out as it is.
I'm worried that if they don't get sponsorship on it, if we follow the whole Red Bull, Renault, Nissan, Infinity Alliance thing, then you could end up with Honda's Earth Dream again on the side of a McLaren this time, or marginally better, pictures of Asimo on the side of the car. Imagine a conversation between Asimo and Ron Dennis. It would be beautiful.
You could throw Adrian Newey into the mix there. Asimo would seem the most lifelike and the greatest humanity. Although he's constantly falling over, from what I gather.
Yeah, he does.
I know two people who've been in the same room as Asimo on both occasions.
He fell over.
Well, at one point, apparently, he fell down some stairs.
I've seen that video. I've seen that, yes.
It's just quite funny because, bless him, they work so hard. He is an incredible achievement, more than we probably appreciate. There's getting a robot that can walk on two legs, but when it falls downstairs,
it's heartbreaking.
But let's not,
like a robot version of You've Been Framed.
let's not get too complacent here, though. You know, the fact that they still fall downstairs occasionally doesn't mean that the robot apocalypse isn't just around the corner.
No, I know. Well, humans fall downstairs quite often as well, and yet we managed to wage war on.
Where does the robot apocalypse fit in with the zombie apocalypse? Can we have a zombie robot apocalypse? Is that possible?
Well, all being well, as mankind, we'll step to one side and they'll beat the crap out of each other.
I like the way you think.
If we can arrange for them both to happen at the same time, it will be fine. You know, because obviously the zombies can't feed on the robots. Yeah. Zombies only feed on brains.
Yeah.
You know, and the robots will just wipe all the zombies. No, it'll be but then we'll be faced by a robot army that has been battle hardened by slaughtering an entire planet's worth of zombies. So,
you're listening to Gareth Jones on Speed, an informed programme about motorsport and cars. Why? I know it's my fault. I brought it.
I'm in a lot of trouble now because if Asimo finds out I've been laughing about him falling down the stairs,
you're first up
come
against
the
wall,
robot apocalypse.
You are first up against the wall.
We hear you are laughing.
I must have told you the story about how I went to see Asimo at the Science Museum a long time ago, and he walks up and down the stairs and he turns around and he carries a tray and he does all these fab neo-human things, and then the guy interviews him. So Asimo, what's it like being a robot who can walk and talk and travelling the world, and here you are in London? And Asimo's response was, oh, it's quite nice, I quite like it, thank you very much. You know, it was the most pitiful little apologetic voice.
A few years ago, a friend of mine, Jim, who used to work with me on Top Gear,
who believes it's just a man in a suit.
Have I told you about this before?
Yeah, you have,
talking to a Honda PR, it's just a kid in a suit, isn't it? And the Honda PR went, well, no, obviously it uses an incredibly complex series of gyroscopes and sensors and things. It's all computerised into the central brain. And Jim listened to all this and went, yeah, but it's a kid in a suit, isn't it? And the Honda PR got very peevish at this point.
And he's going to be believing that until
The robot apocalypse. Well, because when my wife used to ring Jim and go, Jim, I've got some bad news about Richard. Unfortunately, the robots have come for him because he laughed at Asimo falling downstairs. And I've just remembered, I think it was my colleague James May was filming with Asimo, and his arm fell off.
What, James May on the Asimo?
James May. James May's really badly made. He's like, I mean, we're also about the Gen 4 James May now, but he's still a lot of
He was looking like he'd been slightly shoddily put together in the light. No, but the robot apocalypse, the rise of the machines, it's going to come through our cars. That's going to be one of the first routes through which we lose our ability to do anything because a moderately smart machine has come along and done it just well enough that we don't have to do it anymore. Didn't they just announce this week that, I think this was more or less a expected timeline for legislation and regulation, but 2030 self-driving cars in the UK.
Just this week.
What, 8:30?
It's passed the rules, haven't they, to allow self-driving cars on the road.
Yeah. We've got one in Greenwich, haven't we?
Milton Keynes and Greenwich are the two places they're going to start doing this, and it's all very interesting. I like the fact that two of these self-driving cars that they were talking about in the newspapers this week look rather sort of like self-driving cars too, sort of almost willfully not like cars.
Yeah.
One is purpose-built and looks like a little pod, the other one looks like a glorified sort of massive golf
harmless,
buggy.
but in an odd way.
But there's a third one being worked on by, I think, partly by BAE Systems, and it's based on a bowler Wildcat. It looks bloody great.
Nice
idea.
idea.
But it does also look like some kind of robotic death machine, which our evil
That's
robot
what they should
overlords
look
could
like, because
seal.
we need to be reminded that the robot apocalypse is coming.
However, boys, if I
Sorry to
may
bang on about it, but
temper this final
Indeed.
thought, that I'm not too concerned that the robot apocalypse is going to happen that quick, because Honda, who are probably the leaders in robotics in terms of car manufacturing companies at the moment, if they've got little Asimo who's falling over, and a Honda-powered McLaren, which is the slowest car at the first test, and they haven't quite mastered the basic technology that everyone else has so far, the dangers of that apocalypse are just inched a little bit further away.
That is
from
true.
where they were.
You keep telling yourself that I've been in cars that park themselves better than I park, and that emergency brake better than I would. So,
but
you know,
if you're building robots at the moment, can we just put in a request? Leave a weak spot somewhere. I mean, even if it's just a bit that can't get wet.
Yeah.
Because then, if the robots are coming for us, just keep a glass of water to hand.
Yeah.
Problem goes away. Or stairs. It could be stairs, as we know. Asimo still struggles.
Little switch at the nape of the back of the neck, an on-off switch.
Just an on-off switch.
Just that.
Okay.
So simple, and yet.
Yeah, you see, you've been listening to the brilliance of Richard Porter.
Goodbye.
And the logical thought of Zog.
Goodbye.
And the daftness of a Welsh lad called Gareth. See ya.
To send us an email, see pictures, read song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site, follow us on Twitter, or to find out about sponsorship opportunities, go to GarethJones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whiz Bang. Yes, the robots will rule the earth. Resistance is futile.
Gareth Jones on speed!
Oh damn, I'm falling over again.